All right, so this is my vlog, and I'm going to be talking about practice, and that is going to involve deliberate, random, blocked, part, and whole practicing. So we have first to understand what practice truly is. So practice on its own is performance of a skill repeatedly and regularly in order to improve or maintain the efficiency of a skill. So while an ability is something we cannot practice, a skill is something we can practice to get better at. So if we look at what exactly are these different types of practices we can put into it. So first we have deliberate practice. And this is kind of like taking one deliberate thing and like being highly focused and like orienting this practice toward the specific skill and just that skill alone. So if we're like playing basketball and we got to work on our free throws, we're just going to stand one spot and just do free throws. Do 50 of them, maybe a little bit of feedback in there, but only work on that feedback of just that thing alone. So it's a deliberate practice to improve just that thing and nothing else. We're not going to be doing anything else but just working on that one individual skill that might be a part of a multitude of other skills, just to make sure that we practice getting just that skill better on its own. Next we have is random practice, and this is kind of like it's a very varied, it's unpredictable, and it's mixing different skills in together. So like flexibility of these skills is very important. So for example, in the game of soccer, you have to pass the ball, you have to shoot the ball, you have to dribble the ball. You're doing all these things in sequence and kind of just like mixing in all these skills and doing them together. So like typically in a game of soccer, that's where you're going to be using all these skills together in the same time. So that's when you're practicing that. Practicing being able to put yourself in that unpredictable environment. It really helps with adaptability and helps with just like adapting to these certain skills, but there are some limitations to that. Number one is you're not improving the individual skills on its own. So if I'm just practicing the entire game, I'm not really getting better specifically at passing the ball, shooting the ball, or dribbling the ball. I mean, better the whole game as a whole, but if it's a beginner, it's really easy to forget about actually these skills. Like some of the limitations is it's tough for beginners. Like if you put someone who's never done any of these skills before and you try to make them do all these skills they've never done before, they're going to try and basically put themselves into a situation where they don't really know how to do all these things, and they're just going to be scrambling around in a kind of like in a messy spot. So it's also like frequent switching up just causing that forgetting. This is also an example of like if you're making an infant do adult tasks, they're gonna like see all this stuff, be like sensory overload and not really understand how to do any of it, and they're gonna forget a lot about it. So it's not like some people think that baptism by fire works, and it can, but for certain scenarios it's not always the best for everybody. Next we have is blocked, and this is kind of like taking those individual skills from that and practicing them. So like I'm gonna do many trials on this specific task in this one task that kind of is taking the big picture of it. So since soccer is kind of a game where multiple different skills are being put into it, like dribbling, passing, and shooting, if I'm just going to work on dribbling by itself, I'm able to understand dribbling better. And then when I get maybe into a part where I can do random practicing, I'm able to be better at that in those scenarios. But I have to be able to practice those individual skills first before I combine them all into an adaptable environment. And so this is kind of like having low contextual interference and really is better to do for a lot of those other things. Then next we have part and whole practice, and these both kind of come in together. So when we think about part practice, we're thinking about a complex skill. Some of these complex skills can be maybe a routine for dance, or it can be a gymnastics kind of routine as well. Like you're not going to practice the entire skill like beginning. You're going to start with these small parts. So if I'm doing a dance routine, I might do a small 5-second portion where I need to get better at just that skill originally before I can do the whole thing. And so if I'm doing part practice, I'm just doing those parts individually before I combine them into the whole complex skill on its own, which that's whole practice, is you're practicing from the start to the end of the entire complex skill. So like, for example, if you're doing a song on a piano, you're going to do maybe 20 seconds of that song. You're going to go through that specific like chord or that specific just like line of sheet of music that you're able to go through. But when you're doing the whole practice, you're practicing the entire piece of it as itself. So part practice can really help, but like the more parts you make it into, the less effective it is, because you have to account for the transfer that comes between this part to this part to this part to this part. You have to be able to practice those and do those well, because if it's like a very short movement like a golf swing, part of practice is not going to be very effective. Thanks for listening to my blog, and good luck to all you on this final exam.